من المهم أحبائي إنه يعرف الصياد معلومات عامة عن الطيور يلي بيصطادها، منشان يعرف بداية ونهاية كل موسم وقديش لازم يقوس من كل نوع، ولا يعرف كمان إذا كانت مستوطنة ببلده أو لا، أو معرضة أنها تنقرض أو يخف عددها بقوة، ولا يعرف كمان وين وأمتين بتبيض وبتتكاثر. لهيدا السبب رح نعرض عليكم وطبعا من إنتاج القناة ولأول مرة باللغتين العربية والإنكليزية أفلام وثائقية عن الطيور يلي بيكتر اصطيادها بلبنان بشكل خاص. ورح نبلش بالسمن يلي بيستحوذ على أهمية عدد كبير من الصيادة بلبنان وخارج لبنان. فيديو مشوق وفريد من نوعه، نتمنى انه ينال اعجابكم، وبدعمكم نستمر.
The thrush or Turdus is a medium-sized songbird that feeds mostly on insects in the ground. It inhabits in Europe and some countries in Asia and Africa. One common feature between many types of thrush is the clearly spotted chest, as we will notice later in the most prominent types. Thrush are loud songbirds as they are observed by their powerful tweet when defending an area like the location of the nest or a berry or fruit tree, and also during the mating season. Thrush spreads over large areas of approximately 10 million kilometers square distributed between Europe and Asia. But Europe is the only continent where there is a huge number of these birds, where the number of song thrush, the most famous type of thrush, is between 40 and 70 million birds. At the same time, some of it inhabit in New Zealand and Australia. Some thrush migrate in autumn in large numbers in late October from the cold of northern Europe to the south, North Africa and the Middle East where the winter is mild, and then it returns in late February to escape the intense heat in search of a mild summer. As for Lebanon, the arrival of all kinds of thrush begins in early November, coming from Europe, especially the song thrush. Some of them remain in Lebanon until the end of February, while some of them continue their way towards the rest of the Middle East and North Africa. This explains the widespread of thrush in Lebanon during November when the hunting season begins. The female makes a cup-shaped nest covered with dry grass in the middle of tall trees. It lays 4 to 5 blue and black eggs. It begins to incubate as soon as the last egg is laid. The eggs hatch after 15 to 17 days. It is true that only females incubate the flappers, but they are fed by both parents. The young mainly feed on worms, but slugs, caterpillars, and even fruit can appear in their diet, especially when dry weather limits the access to worms. The flappers become ready to leave the nest at the age of 13 to 14 days and stay nearby for a few days. At the beginning, they somehow can't fly well, however they'll eventually learn how to do so after a week. Well, parents continue to feed them while they learn to fly in order to search for food. After about 3 weeks, the young birds will be able to leave the nest for good. Usually, the female lays 2 to 3 times a year. The sad news is that there are usually huge losses in the egg and incubation stage, where only a third of the nests are young flappers, and that's as a result of the attack of snakes and birds of prey. 3 years is the normal lifespan of this bird, while the maximum age is about 10 years. Thrush feed mostly on insects, snails, worms, caterpillars, and some types of slugs found in the wet ground. It also feeds on some types of wild berries and some types of ripe fruits fallen on the ground, especially apples. The thrush has been hunted for 12,000 years. Nowadays, this bird is hunted in places surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. The number of birds are greatly reduced because the fields are no longer there in some parts of Europe and because it's under the threat of humankind and poaching and new methods used to do it. For example, in Spain during the migration of these birds, they were caught using stingrays. Then the European Union intervened and banned and criminalized this method of hunting. Blackbird, Turdus merlo, الشحرور. It is the most common and widespread species in Europe. For example, more than 5 million pairs of blackbirds breed in the United Kingdom, Britain each year. These numbers increase each fall by the immigration of birds from Northern Europe, where it's hard to find food under the condition of the pure cold in winter. Blackbird males are dark black, while females are dark brown with light spots on the chest. The earrings and beaks of the males are bright yellow, while the females are paler. Turdus phylomilus, song thrush. With its pale dark brown mottled breast and rich brown wings, It is perhaps the most recognizable species of all. Males and females are similar in appearance, but one way to tell them apart is by listening to their tweets. Males are particularly famous for their vocal talents, and they emit repeated melodies from the tops of the trees, especially at dusks and sunset. Their number is in sharp decline due to the poaching with new harmful methods. Fieldfare, Turdus pilaris. A little bigger than the blackbird, but it's not like it at all. In Lebanon, it is called Kikhn al-Tufah. Its number is relatively few. For the warbler and blackbird, it feeds abundantly on wild berries, juniper, hawthorn, and fruits fallen on the ground. A small number of them migrate to the Middle East and North Africa, while the larger part migrates in winter from northern Europe to its south, where cranberry, hawthorn, and juniper trees are found. Mistle Thrush, Turdus viscivorus, equally called in Lebanese al-Kikhn. It is the largest type of thrush ever. Its name comes from its fondness for mistletoe berries, which is a type of wild berries. So the origin of the word viscivorus in Latin is viscim vorare. Viscim means berries, mistletoe, and vorare means slurping. From a distance, they are similar to song thrush, but it's easy to differentiate them side by side. It is larger and paler, and the spots on its chests are black rather than brown, and more densely distributed with a gray back rather than brown. Redwing, Turdus elycus. It is the smallest species of thrush. Most of it migrates within Europe, as we mentioned earlier, and comes in small numbers to the Middle East region in winter. Very similar to the song thrush, and can be distinguished by the orange spot under its wings and the creamy white stripe next to the eye.